no, no, please. No, no.
Night owls out there.
Hi, and welcome to part 4 of our beginners brain tanning masterclass. Don't mind the mess. In our previous videos linked in the description, we went over flushing, degreasing, stretching the hide, and lacing it onto the frame. And now that we're getting to part 4 of our brain tanning guide for beginners, we're going to go ahead and dry scrape this hide now that it's been left out in the sun for a couple of days. And it's basically, since you've gotten the flesh and all the fat off, all of those little collagen fibers have been separated and left to dry in this way. So scraping off that final skin layer allows us to get down to them real close so that we can add our brain tanning emulsion to the hide in order to sort of loosen it up and freshen it. And then we've got some sinew thread we've put together with a bone needle to keep things nice and old school traditional. Apply the brain solution in the next video. We'll sew these up and get down to stretching it in so that all of that brain solution will be absorbed by the fibers themselves. Now you've seen us playing with our little neon pickaxe in the beginning of this video. We've picked this up because it's the closest thing that we could find to the original type of dry scraping tool, the excuse the pronunciation, but it is looking a little home hardware. So what we're going to do is take this off of its original handle. Before we go ahead and slap this thing together, I'm going to take off our little protective guard and go and sharpen this thing up, because all those layers of fibers and all of that collagen is pretty much calcified. So you're going to want more than a stock edge on this thing. Here we go. Sturdy. And we're keeping this extra top part up here. It's nice and chamfered, got a good handhold. We'll try it out this way and cut this down if we need to. Applying some straight, direct pressure on the hide, we're going to use the back of the pickaxe to sort of hold it in place. You're going to want to turn everything and work out your angle of approach to get your best scraping off. Just sort of making one line of contact and not effectively using the entire blade at this point. Within our attempts to keep things traditional, we haven't really been able to find a good edge with this guy. Maybe we need to redo the bevel on the sharpen. Not sure. We've even switched back to the old hardware store handle. Regardless, sitting within a little bit of tool experimentation, we'll switch over to our other guy over here, which is actually a Chinese battle axe head, though it is shaped a little bit, or a lot of it, like the traditional ulu the Inuit would use on blubber and scraping hides. As far as all of these scrapings coming off here, what we'll do later, if the dog doesn't get it all, is we'll go ahead and take that, boil it down, and make it into a hide glue. Careful, that's sharp. Definitely getting a better scraping out of this ulu type blade. And if you get these little pieces like this right here, you can often just start pulling them and you'll get a piece come off like that, which takes away a lot of the effort. Just sort of give that whole edge a little bit of a scrape. Don't be afraid to use your pocket knife. And just trim some of that hard calcified flesh out. You can see how hard it is how much of resistance the knife is giving me. But yeah, just feel free to edge around that hole a little bit, being careful not to actually cut it, but just scraping around the edge of these larger holes. This hole being, well, the bum hole, where we cut our tail off in our other video when we were flushing it. But a nice Tonto knife, just like that, right around the edge. That's going to help when you go to rehydrate this guy and sew these guys up so that it's not this really hard edge that's giving you all kinds of resistance. Though we're getting some decent results from our Tanto, given that it's a folding blade, it's not holding up too well, and we're going to need to tighten that up. It is just what we had on hand, though we're switching over to our 90-degree spine traditional sort of bushcraft knife to get in on some of those edges. As you're moving along, you may have found that within the stretch, your hide has taken on some bumps and wrinkles. And getting into those is a little tricky. This is where the smaller knife comes in handy. You can just push it out from the back if it's not too close to the center, and go ahead and scrape with the tip of your blade just to get that out. Working around, being very careful not to puncture the hide, and just scraping all of that brown fleshy tone you're seeing in there down to a white scraped kind of palette as best you can to loosen up that layer of flesh in there. Definitely a tough, arduous process. But back in the day, you can even see how it would take a village. To today's standards, some people go ahead and they talk about using actual sanding paper on this guy. We're going to take that a step further and break into some technology away from tradition and throw on a wire wheel. Gravitas. Now that you've got your hide all scraped, thinned, and softened through that process, you're going to want to go ahead and get it prepped to be rehydrated. So now that you spent a fair amount of time and exhausted yourself a little bit on this, and you think you're done scraping, give yourself a second to second guess yourself, and how you can check just to make sure is going around the edge of all of this and just give it a feel. If it's become soft and pliable around the edges, it's lost that sort of crinkly sounding cardboard aspect of it, then it's a good likelihood that you're done and you've already attained somewhat a bit of a softness. You can go in between some of these holes, check those edges around there as well. And that'll hold your evidence as to whether or not you can move on to mixing up your brain tanning solution and emulsifying the hide, going through from there, stretching, so on and so forth. This guy's just fresh out of the freezer, so I'll have to give him some time to thaw. But be sure to come back next week, and we'll get into a little bit of brain tanning on our hide.
Easy, Bushcraft. You make learning fun.
Kids, shut up.
They don't like us. They ain't gotta like us.